Now we go to the other big story in sports, the Major League Baseball trade deadline. That deadline ended today, July 31st at 3 Central. Kind of a quiet day, very quiet day. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but first, the biggest deals. I think the biggest deal is in Philly. Hunter Pence, talented right fielder from the Houston Astros, gets dealt to the Philadelphia Phillies. ESPN insider Jim Bowden gives Philly an A grade for the trade, while Houston only gets a C minus. Houston does get Philly's top pitching and batting prospects, but unfortunately neither of them has played a full season in A-ball. So, as you know, with Major League Baseball prospects, they could either pan out or they could be they can't. They may be able to pan out, be superstars, but they could also fall flat on their face. So, Houston doesn't really instantly get better. But unfortunately, they also traded another outfielder, the speedy Michael Bourne. They trade him to the Braves for Jordan Schaefer and 3 minor leaguers. In this one, ESPN insider Jim Bowden gave the Braves an A for that deal and gave the Astros an F, mainly because Schaefer is not really has been a productive player in the majors so far. And then, of course, on top of that, they get 3 prospects. In the end, Houston really doesn't get any better for the future. There's a chance, but they give up their 2 most promising players. Pence is definitely one of baseball's most likable guys. You could tell that in his first at-bat he had for Philly. The Philly faithful gave him a standing ovation in his first at-bat as a Philly. And Pence has really been having a great season, too. So this definitely makes Philadelphia a dangerous team going forward. Now, the deals that both Atlanta and Philly have made, I think this almost can lock them up for the NLCS this year. Obviously, Atlanta has a great stranglehold on that wild card, and in-division rivals cannot play each other in the first round of the playoffs. So I could easily see these teams getting past the Central and West winners, and so I wouldn't make it a big surprise if Atlanta and Philly both are in that NLCS. Another large deal that was made was by the Cleveland Indians, making a calculated risk, I would say, with getting Ubaldo Jimenez from the Colorado Rockies. Unlike the Houston dealings, this deal actually is a good benefit for both teams. Bowden gave Cleveland a B+ on the deal and Colorado an A, mainly because Colorado got some great minor league talent in exchange for Ubaldo. Jimenez, though, having an off season for 2011 after an all-star campaign in 2010. His ERA is only 4.46 and only has a 6-9 record, but obviously we all know that he can pitch lights out, so it can be definitely a profitable gamble in this very tight AL Central race, one that Cleveland has not been in a while. So it's definitely, if you're an Indians fan, it's definitely promising to see that they are trying to make moves to try to get better as they go down the stretch. Another big deal was Carlos Beltran. He was dealt from the New York Mets to the San Francisco Giants. Beltran kind of having a resurgence this year, having a very, very productive season for the Mets, but there is no way in hell the Mets are going to catch Atlanta or Philly this year. But it's definitely a good deal for the Mets end of things. Zach Wheeler is who they get. He's a terrific pitcher. He was drafted 6th overall in the 2009 draft. A lot of people are saying that he could be a number 2 or 3 starter for the Mets, and he could be ready as early as 2013. And since the Mets are out of it this year, getting yourself a guy that really could anchor that rotation in the future. You already got a couple of great guys. Dylan G is one that, and Jonathan Neese. They're both having some great breakout seasons as well. So solidifying that rotation is something that may help New York in the future. San Francisco, they're on top of the division by about 2.5 games. Unfortunately, they've lost 3 straight since the deal, but I think in the long term, the pitching is the key for the Giants, and that's going to carry them in the NL West. I don't think Arizona is going to overtake them here. So I think that basically with this deal for Beltran, Giants have locked up that division. Some quick hitters here for you on the trades. Probably the best named deal of the MLB trade deadline. We have a Fister for Furbush trade. There's a couple of names you may not know unless you're a fantasy baseball player, but Doug Fister, a fairly solid pitcher for the Seattle Mariners, was traded, and going from Detroit to Seattle is Furbush. Fister Furbush. I don't think we're going to ever see such a great named trade ever again. Derek Lee, former Cubby, former Marlin. He's been in Baltimore. He's going to be he's traded to the Buccos, and hopefully that is going to bolster Pittsburgh's first base position that's really not been producing this year. Lyle Overbay, he did hit a home run today, but of course over the course of the season he has not really produced. And as Pittsburgh tries to make a fight in that NL Central, Derek Lee definitely familiar with the NL Central, so this is a great move for Pittsburgh, and we'll see if that definitely carries them going down the stretch. Mike Adams, setup man for San Diego, he was dealt to Texas. He's going to be a great setup guy for Neftali Feliz. And then also Arizona picks up Jason Marquis, as they have not given up on the race yet. They're only 2.5 out, like I said, with the Giants having a little bit of a losing streak. So definitely some moves being made, and people trying to set themselves up for either a fire sale like Houston did, or try to push yourself into a World Series like Philly definitely did. Now this was the trading deadline, but trades can still be done through September 1st if the player clears waivers. One name that didn't get dealt today that is most likely going to be dealt and probably will not clear waivers is Houston's Wandy Rodriguez. He has a large contract remaining. The Yankees have been talking in dealing with Houston, possibly taking some of that contract off of the Yankees' hands, but that's probably one name that you'll see that could get dealt. Some of the biggest surprises, though, over the MLB trading deadline. First one was lack of activity. Last year, over 40 people were dealt on the final day of the trading deadline. Today, only 13 guys went, and actually, there was a late trade with the Red Sox getting Eric Bedard after the Rich Harden deal fell through. So with that being said, I think you can add to that total of 13, but still a very quiet day compared to last year. The two biggest surprises: Heath Bell stays in San Diego. Heath Bell was quoted as saying he's 99.9% sure he's going to be dealt. A lot of rumors were he's going to go to Texas. That didn't happen. And then the Cardinals started to come up, but no deal could be struck, and so Heath Bell stays in San Diego. I'm also surprised that B.J. Upton stayed in Tampa Bay. Both him and Johnny Damon were expected to get dealt, and they both are actually going to stay with the Rays the rest of the season. So as the trade deadline has ended, we can still get trades done by clearing waivers, so we may not be completely done just yet. Last night was a big monumental matchup in the Strikeforce MMA promotion. Fedor Emelianenko, Dan Hendo Henderson, both definitely legends in the MMA world. Fedor, of course, went almost a decade without getting beat. Hendo, one of the most likable guys in the MMA promotion. I got the chance to meet him last year, and you could just tell, even at the events, in between every fight, he'll sign everybody's autograph that lines up for him. He's just one of the most likable guys that you could ever meet. And they both butted heads on Strikeforce last night on Showtime, and it was just an amazing fight. It only lasted one round, but the fight was just completely amazing. Ended with a TKO by Dan Henderson in the first round. Fedor had actually knocked down Hendo with a flurry of punches late in the first round, and Hendo, a great wrestler in his own right, made an awesome wrestling move to slip behind Fedor and just dropped a complete amazing H-bomb that just crumpled Fedor. A lot of people, including Fedor, thought the ref had stopped the fight too soon, but I mean, if you look at that replay, I mean, the way he just dropped to the ground after that little uppercut from Hendo, you definitely don't blame the ref for stopping that fight. It was an amazing win for Hendo. The 40-year-old fighter calls this victory the best victory ever. It even is tops any title that he has ever won. It is the final fight for Hendo in his Strikeforce contract. He hopes to come back and defend his light heavyweight championship that he has, as this is his first step up to the heavyweight division. But he definitely sounds like he wants to come back to the promotion, and I definitely hope so. He's one of my favorite fighters. As for Fedor Emelianenko, the last Emperor just got his third straight loss. Amazing. You know, he almost he carried that one loss with him, which a lot of people did not think was actually a loss. But now he has lost 3 straight in the Strikeforce promotion. Definitely adds to the questions of the rumors swirling about Fedor retiring after he had gotten knocked out by Bigfoot Silva. He said himself he was done, but only for his family and his priest. They talked him back into fighting, and then that's where he signed this fight on July 30th for against Dan Henderson. After last night's fight, he says this time he states that it is God's will whether he'll retire or not. In my opinion, just the first round, it went about 4 minutes, and it was just some of the most amazing action of the night. It was just fast-paced, furious. These two guys came out swinging. These two legends of MMA came out swinging. I think the energy of the crowd and the energy that Fedor had when he stepped into that cage with Hendo, I think he will be back, but it's definitely disheartening when you just go and own people. He has 30-plus wins, and now he's on a 3-match losing streak. But hopefully both Hendo and Fedor are back into the Strikeforce promotion very soon.